What's up, Hoopers? It's Coach Alex from THINCPRO Basketball, and in today's video, we're going to talk about some things that can help you if you're trying to change your shot. Let's get started. All right, Hoopers, are you having trouble with your jumper? Are you having trouble with your mechanics? Are you looking to change your shot? Well, let's go over a couple of things that you can do in order to correct that, right? And the first, we're gonna start with your base, your foundation, where your shot happens and where it starts, your feet, right? What is your feet like? What is your footwork like? Are you hopping into your shot? Are you more of a 1-2 gather type of shooter? Things like that. Are you shooting the basketball where your feet are directly lined up towards the rim? Or do you have that slight tilt? Do you have the Dirk Nowitzki, right? Things that you might have to be thinking about in order to take that first step if you're trying to change your shot, right? There could be millions of reasons why you want to change your shot. Maybe you're missing too many shots, you're uncomfortable with your shot, things of that nature, but you have to be able to diagnose the problem before you can have the solution, all right? So if our feet are off, how do we want to fix it? Like for me, I used to be wanting to make sure that my feet were so squared up to the basket that it brought so much tension and it made me uncomfortable as a shooter on my release because I was so locked in here at my feet that it made everything else so stiff, right? And as I got older and started, gaining more experience and trying to figure out what can I do to make myself more comfortable as a shooter, I start to add the tilt, right? Meaning my feet aren't directly there at the rim, but we're slightly slanted, but it's allowing me to be more fluid and more comfortable when I shoot the basketball, right? So the first thing you have to think about, what can I do to my feet in order to fix it? Now, maybe you have the tilt, but you don't like it anymore. It's not working for me. I gotta be more squared up to the basket, all right? So you have to be thinking about the foundation. Work your way up. Figure out what's going to be best suited for you in order to make the best correction to make your shot work for you. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to correct your shot and figure out what's going to make it better the next time you shoot the basketball. So the first step is figure out if your feet are the way that you want them. All right, Hoopers, we're making our way up. Okay, so we just talked about our feet. What about our legs? Right? Do you have enough legs underneath you? Are you getting good lift on your shot? Right? Are you shooting the ball where if I'm shooting it, I'm just flat, right? I don't have any lift on my shot. Or am I getting enough power underneath my shot where, boom, I'm getting some good extension, I'm getting some good lift, it's fluid, and it's a bucket every time I put it up? What are you doing as a shooter in order to incorporate your legs? Are you just using your legs maybe off of the dribble because you feel that rhythm into it? Are you using your legs when you get a catch to shoot, right? You have to be thinking about these things. They are important for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Whenever I put the ball on the floor, I felt like I got more legs underneath me because the rhythm I'm getting on my shot. But whenever it was a catch and shoot situation, I didn't really feel like I was putting enough legs underneath it to be consistent every time with my shot, right? So what I would tell you is if you're gonna shoot like that, the first way I showed you where it's more flat, not a lot of lift on your shot, or the second way I showed you where I'm getting that good lift, where it's making my shot fluid and I can get some lift underneath me, then you have to be able to be consistent with it. Make sure you're doing that every single time, every way that you're shooting, whether it's off the dribble, whether you're coming off of a screen, whether you're catching it and shooting it, whether you're in the mid-range or the three-point line or close range. You have to try to shoot that basketball the same way every single time. So again, figure out what works for you. We talked about our feet, how we want those set when we shoot the basketball. Now we got to figure out how we want to get our legs involved to be a consistent shooter. All right, Hoopers, now again, we're moving up to step 3, right? Your shoulders. Now, for me personally, I believe that your shoulders got to be squared to the basket every single time you shoot it. Because think of it like this. If the rim is here, but I'm shooting like this, right? Where are my shoulders? They're facing towards the wall. I'm not gonna be very accurate with this shot, right? It's gonna be a lot harder to make the shot, I mean, I almost made that one because, you know, sometimes I get a little lucky throwing it up. But regardless, you have to make sure, for me personally, I think if you're trying to change your shot and your shoulders aren't squared toward the basket, this is a focal point you need to really focus on. You have to be thinking about, how can I get my shoulders turned towards the basket every single time? Whether I'm coming off of the dribble for a pull-up jump shot, how can I make sure that I'm aligned to the basket, right? I'm not worried about my feet. My feet are gonna be the way I want them, but my shoulders have to be squared to my target, right? I'm coming off of a screen. How can I whip my shoulders around? Obviously, my feet and my legs are gonna help me do that, but I have to make a conscious effort to make sure that every single time that I release this basketball, I'm squared up to the rim, right? So again, we've made a couple of corrections already for your shot if you're trying to change it. I've given you a couple of things to think about with your feet, a couple of things to think about with your legs, and one thing to really honestly think about with your shoulders, making sure they're squared. If your shoulders aren't squared to the rim, you have to make that correction. That's the one thing I would say that you have to make sure that you're trying to change every time that you shoot the basketball, is that you're lined up and squared to your target in order to shoot an accurate, great shot. All right, guys, the last thing I really want to talk about is your release, right? The shot, the end point, right? Is your shot coming off of your palms, right? If it is, if it's all right, if it's working for you, go for it, that's fine. I'm not gonna tell you to change it. But most of the time when you shoot the basketball, you want the pocket between the ball and your palm. You don't want that ball coming off your palm. You're not gonna have too many control on it. It is gonna just simply roll off your hand. If you have that pocket, now you're shooting that ball off your fingertips, right? You don't want it to come off your thumb or your pinky. You want it to come off of these 3 fingers when you're releasing that basketball, right? You'll be able to tell, trust me, you'll figure it out. But again, you also, with your release, if you're shooting the ball short, if you're shooting the ball flat, that means that when you're shooting the basketball, your extension of your hand is a lot of the time like this, right? We don't want that to be flat. Regardless of where our release point is coming from, if it's coming from above our head, below our chin, to the left or right of our head, or behind it, we have to make sure that the extension is proper. So we're putting enough air on the basketball. Because if I'm releasing the ball here, even if it's below my chin, but I'm shooting it here, then I know that ball is flat. It's not gonna have enough arc. But if I'm shooting the ball below my chin, but I shoot the ball up, and my release and my extension here with my arm is good, that means I'm getting the ball up in the air, giving the ball a chance to go in. Okay, so now again, think about your release. Think about, is that ball coming off of your palm? Do you have the pocket? Think about, do you have enough air on the basketball? What can you change? Is your elbow out? If you're shooting the ball with the chicken wing, maybe you need to get that elbow tucked, right? You have to think about these things in order to make it correct. Where's your hand placement on the ball? Are your thumbs too close when you shoot it? Are you have one hand in the front? Are your hands too far apart? Or is it just right? Okay, those are some things to think about when it comes to your release. After you have that figured out, you've completed 4 steps in order to make your shot even better than it was before. All right, Hoopers, well, that's it for today's video. Again, those are 4 steps and 4 things you should be thinking about if you're trying to change your shot. Remember, changing your shot is all based upon trying to make you the most comfortable you can be when you shoot the basketball, and be confident as well. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, learned a little something, and you're thinking about changing your shot, go ahead and click the like button, leave a comment, and let us know what you think. Most importantly, click that subscribe button wherever it may be so you can join THINCPRO Basketball. We provide professional level training that's gonna be easy enough for you to follow, and that's gonna deliver in-game results. All right, that's important. In-game results is what you're looking for, and we have it at THINCPRO Basketball. Now, until I see you again next time, hit the gym, hit the court, work on your mechanics, work on the things that are important with your shot, your feet, your legs, your shoulders, and your release in order to become a better shooter. And remember, what do I always say at the end of each video? Remember always, keep hooping. See you soon.